And welcome back. It's our monthly segment with John Fausett from the National Weather Service. We always have something that's kind of a topic that has to do with the season, and I think this is a very appropriate one. Last week we saw our first 90-degree day of 2016, and now we're talking more 90s as we move into the weekend. Of course, the weekends when we have the birthday parties, we've got all the outdoor events, so this is the time of year where we have to talk about heat safety because it's going to quickly move from 90s, then we know the triple digits out there.
Right.
So let's talk about heat safety, beginning with a few facts for us. And as I just mentioned, our bodies need to acclimate, John. That's the most important thing. This time of year, we need to kind of ease into things.
That's right, and people forget that the early part of the heat season can be pretty dangerous because you're not used to it yet, and you know, you really got to take the precautions, and especially when we have our dry heat early on. Sometimes you don't really think you're that hot because your body's, you know, air conditioning's working, you know, the sweat evaporates, cools your body. You've got to drink water even when you don't think you're that thirsty. Sunscreen, obviously, in the shade, and air conditioning if that's available, all kinds of precautions you can take to keep your body from overheating.
Yeah, and if you're a local in the Southwest, you know the tricks. Once it gets hot, that's when you go to the movie theaters, the mall, that's the kind of stuff you do. Right. Use the air conditioning to your benefit, but of course if you are someone who works outside, hopefully you're doing more of the heavy lifting in the early morning hours before we see our peak temperatures in the afternoon. Something we've got to talk about are some of the symptoms of both heat exhaustion and heat stroke, because this is something I don't think people maybe realize that they might be starting to fall into if they're outside, especially doing heavy activities. So here's some of the symptoms, John, if you don't mind going over for heat exhaustion.
Well, and one thing also is you often don't think it's heat. You're thinking something else, like, oh, you know, am I getting the flu or something
like that? A cold
or
something,
but
yes, of course.
That's right, but you know, if you're sweating more than you normally would be, or you're feeling weak, or your skin is cool and clammy, dizzy, you better be thinking, hey, I got to cool off, I've got to get into a cooler area, let's take it easy. You know, another thing that people do a lot nowadays, and they're not, and I see it all the time, they're out working out. They're running. You got to change your workout plan once it gets to this time of year. You just really have to do it. And we're going to feel it this weekend with the 90s. Quickly, though, want to go over heat stroke because this is a little more serious, John. Right, and this is, you're going to have to get more serious attention here. You may not be able to take care of it yourself. You need to call 911. You need to get to the hospital.
And that's when it's a more serious situation. Call 911, take those medical precautions. John, thank you very much for our heat safety discussion, and we'll see you again next month.
And remember, heat is the #1 killer when it comes to weather. It's not tornadoes, hurricanes, or anything like that. It's the silent killer.
Make sure you're safe, guys. We'll be right back.